continue from there. Up to you. I can make mention.
Bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to our monthly Shama'il class where we study about the Prophet Muhammad SAW, his attributes, our text. And this time we have chosen our Master Muhammad, the Messenger of Allah SAW, his Sublime Character Exalted Attributes. Actually, it's been close to 9 weeks since our last class. We stopped during Ramadan. And Alhamdulillah, we are starting again our class, our monthly class. And this time around, we're happy to have Habib Zainal Haddad to present the topic. We will open Q&A question at the end of the session, so please feel free to ask questions. And Habib Zainal, over to you on the topic that you have selected for today.
Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Bismillah. Ya, jemput, come, masuk. Nak ajak tak lama tak boleh, so aku tak fikir. We intend to study and to teach. We intend to study and to teach, to seek guidance and be guided, and give guidance, and give seek counsel and give counsel, and hold fast to the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger of Sallam, so that it may guide us. So we begin with that intention. All right, okay. We begin with the intention, and so that we are clear with why we're here today. Before we begin, following with that point, I request that we do, we just have 30 seconds of silence perhaps, just to kind of ask ourselves why we're here this evening, our own intentions. So maybe you come because you want to continue the book, maybe you want to come and meet some people and this happens to be in your way, that's fine. Or maybe that you have come here because afterwards you want to get some food downstairs, not judging. But the point is that we'll just have a quick point of reflection to kind of just look, let's align why we're doing what we're doing and perhaps how we can potentially elevate that. Okay, so we'll just take a quick moment of silence. Ya khair. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so apparently the last session ended about 3 pages before. Yeah, 3 full pages before what we're supposed to begin today. So there's a chance that perhaps we can leave that for the resident teacher, Imam Abdallah Haddad, to cover that bit, and then I will just cover the part that I'm supposed to cover today. And if there's time, then we can backtrack to that, right? So we're at page 215. There's the first point. The second point is, the reference was made. I think it's a good time to clarify whenever this is suitable, kan? He uses, and it is there's no better. It is said from the hadith that it is no better than to a Muslim to have a better opinion of his brother, right? Brother, sister, and so forth. Whether that brother could be in the context of their parents. Should we turn on these lights? King, nak pasang lampu ni tak? Tak pasang lampu ni? Boleh pasang lampu ni? But to have a good opinion of your. So for local expression, you know, he might be a person that's always late, but you assume today he's going to be on time, right? But another expression which you can agree is inappropriate, for lack of better example, if he's a datuk, you call him Tan Sri. This is not appropriate, isn't it? So likewise, the term Habib refers to, in context, to someone who is from the descendants of Prophet ﷺ, and who is an authoritative scholar. That means he's being authoritative, meaning it is agreed upon by people that he's an authoritative scholar. So I'm not even a scholar, let alone an authoritative one. So typically they might use the term Sayyid is sufficient. Whether the person is in his 70s or 40s or whatever, the term Sayyid will be sufficient. Even in modern day times, the Habibs that we often see back home, the locals call them Ammi, uncle. And that has to do with humility, because they didn't want to be referred to the same as their grandfathers or their forefathers, who were called Habibs themselves. Before they used the term Habib, they called the term Imam. Before the term Imam, they used to call the term Sheikh. Right? From the same tradition. So you can see there's this attitude of always humiliating, humbling yourself, right? And as a culture, it's beautiful that they also make an attempt to humble themselves. So for example, in Tarim Hadramut where I live, some people wouldn't say Habib Umar, they say Umar, Uncle Umar. And they don't say that out of disrespect, they say that out of respect and affection. Unless, people are on the same age. Okay, so that's enough. Bismillah. Okay, so now I sat with a guy, because to be fair, the Muslims can be to an extent extreme, can? If you think about it, right? Because no other tradition, whether that tradition might be Judaism, or that tradition might be Christianity, or that tradition might be Hollywood, or that tradition might be hip hop, right? That they can tell that their people in their tradition 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, walk this way, talk this way. You know the song, right? Guns N' Roses, no. Yeah. Aerosmith, right? Like there isn't. Only in Islamic tradition that they can tell that a person 1,500 years ago, or even 1,000 years ago, or even 500 years ago, he wore these clothes. This is how he brushed his teeth. This is how he walked into his house, walked into the bathroom. This is how he did things late at night. This is how he did things at home. This is how he did things with his grandchildren, his friends, his enemies. Only in the Muslim tradition you can tell that. And you could say, in a sense, for some lens, that's an expression of extremity. Of course, if you misunderstand it in a sense. In today's life, you might have an expression of that as well. It might not be as well documented, but you have that, like, how come is it that some people today, and it didn't happen 20 years ago, can actually tell that their favorite singer wears this type of shoe and is this size? That their favorite singer likes to go, because he's essentially singing. The way that you should have enjoyed him was to listen to his songs. But today, no, I know what baju he wears, where does he go for holidays, the names of his children, right? And you don't know that, except that the point is that one day you might follow in their footsteps. And that in the sense that if you're going to follow in their footsteps or aspire to be in their footsteps, that means you're going to drift away from the other one. Right, so he's getting closer to that. And it is happening. So now it starts in a harmless manner. You might say, oh, the CEO of this company that you wish you want to work for that company, this is what he does every morning for his first 2 hours. That sounds harmless, and there's no problem to follow that kind. But then he also eats this, right? This is the shop that he went to buy roses for his wife. So I'm going to buy roses from that wife, from that same shop, and so forth and so forth and so forth. So it comes in a creeping manner. Okay, say if I were to say the word Putrajaya, what are the top 10 words that come to your mind? Anyone? Bismillah. Huh? Government, okay. Prime Minister, lake.
Roundabouts.
Huh?
Roundabouts.
Roundabouts. Masjid Besi. Anything else? Okay, what about Shah Alam?
Roundabouts.
Careful out. Plaza Salam, yeah. Careful, no inshallah. I was raised in Shah Alam. UiTM, there you go. Yeah, okay, so that's Shah Alam. So say we say because we are stepchildren of the imperial party, of the imperial world, what we say when I say London. Well, what tend to Big Ben, huh? Malaysia Hall, the Queen. Yeah, that's fine. Malaysia Hall, the Queen, and so forth. Okay. Now let's just say when I say the word Muhammad, what are the first 10 words that come to your mind? Huh? Okay. Okay, salam. What else will come to your mind? Prophet. Kind. Beautiful. And you could even say the words that you often hear other people say. That's fine, because the whole idea is to kind of get that spectrum. Apa lagi? Love. Tamam. Huh? Best character. Naam. Okay. What about if I say the word, and I do mean it in a Western context, okay? I say the word Jesus, alayhi salam. What will be the words that come to your mind? Huh? Okay. Resurrected. Tamam. Okay. Okay. In the Western context, we might hear the word love, compassion, mercy, kan? In a way, you mention those in a Western context, you might hear those words. Okay. And to be fair, I think the words I'm getting today, when I mention the word Muhammad, Sallam, has to do because we are in a Shamaya class. So the words that might be very different if I were to be outside in, say, the cafe or in a Western setting. I think they might be saying different words. And they could even mean well. For example, they might even mean, he was victorious at war. He had, I don't know, a bunch of other things, kan? Okay. And also it's understandable when people say the word Jesus, alayhi salam, the love, compassion. But it's also odd, it's also peculiar, you could say in a sense, that when we mention the word, or we could go the other way around. Kita mention the word compassion, love, mercy, often in a westernized context, which is what we are, even though we have 100 deep roots in Islam, you would see the word Jesus come up first before Muhammad. So you would mention the word mercy, compassion, kan? At least that name comes up first. So what I'm trying to say is that the existence of that is an indicator as to how many people, Muslims and otherwise, have misunderstood the seerah, which is kind of what we're doing today, right? Okay. That we don't look at the seerah in a particular lens, right? Sometimes the chapter is a chapter, and that's what it is, but the juice, the mojo, is in that one line, and that kind of that was it. That's the essence of his character, right? We'll give an example. When Prophet ﷺ was giving a khutbah, Friday sermon, okay, so he says, is one of the hadith that from the fitna of man, of a person, is his children. That means the child that he loves a lot, right? His children in general, he loves, they can be the cause of what brings fitna upon him, right? And it allows people to understand that, oh wow, like, you don't see it that way, right? You see your job as the one that might cause you hardship, but imagine from your own children might cause you fitna. And then sometimes when we read the Quran or whatever, we might say Sadaqallah wa Rasuluhu, which essentially means the Prophet, Allah has been truthful in what he says, and then we say wa Rasuluhu and his messenger. Right? When somebody says hadith or Sadaqallah, it's true. If someone says, man, that burger is good, it's true. In that context, right? But you say Sadaqallah wa Rasuluhu. It depends. It might be hadith, it might be something that happened, it might be Quran. Sadaqallah wa Rasuluhu. Okay. So when the Prophet was giving a khutbah, Friday sermon, and you imagine, right? And Friday sermon, yeah, I know some people like these hip preachers to give Friday sermon in a certain way. But in the Shafi madhab, Friday sermon is supposed to be delivered with haiba, with a sense of veneration and grandeur. It's not supposed to be moving a lot. It even said that the hand that holds his staff, he should only be moving the finger. And he should not be like moving his head left and right a lot. There's an etiquette for an imam to give a khutbah. It might not be true in other madhab, but in Shafi madhab that's the case, right? Even though I understand people are attracted to a certain style of khutbah, but that's not what khutbah should be. Khutbah should be like a sense like, you could say, going to battle sort of vibe, right? There's a time and place to be friendly for the imam, but the khutbah is not the place for that. Okay. Now, when he was giving khutbah, Prophet ﷺ was giving khutbah, he had Sayyidina Hassan, his grandson, right, had come, and he had bent down to pick up Sayyidina Hassan, right? And basically he interrupted his khutbah to pick up his child. And a lot of us would take that, especially in the legal setting, say, okay, so that means it is permissibly allowed in a khutbah for an imam to interrupt his khutbah, do something, whether pick up a child or open his phone or sneeze or look at a book and resume the khutbah without having to begin from the beginning again. Like if you were to pray, you can't do that, right? You can't. You have to start from the beginning. But in the khutbah, so we see it as a legal ruling. And you could even say, okay, that also shows that a small boy of that age is allowed in the mosque, or is brought to the mosque for Friday prayer. So all sorts of legal ruling. In some of the narrations, it said that when the Prophet ﷺ bent down to pick up Sayyidina Hassan, Hassan bin Ali bin Abi Talib, his grandson, he said, Sadaqallah wa Rasuluhu. Meaning, it's true what Allah said and the Prophet said. Meaning, from the fitna of man will be his son. That means I had to interrupt this khutbah for my son. And this might bring fitna upon someone doing such a thing. But why did he do that anyway? He could have just ignored the boy. In the sense that because his boy is so cute that I had to interrupt my khutbah and pick him up. And that's what I mean by the juice or the mojo of the seerah. To not see it as, okay, so he did that, so legally this is allowed. No, like his heart was so soft that he had to just pick up that boy. And I'm saying that that's, in that sense, is what we need to try and understand the seerah, right? Because then you will surpass whatever notions we have about Nabi Isa alayhi salam being the top on the list regarding mercy and compassion and so forth. Because you know that Prophet Muhammad was always the apex of all of that. Innama bu'ithu li makarim al-akhlaq. Right? Indeed, I was sent to complete character. Naam. So therefore, no other prophet could ever supersede him in that. There's a book by Izz Abdul Salam, something Bidayat al-Tafsil wa Tafdeel, something like that. Basically, he looks at all of the great things the Prophet did, and then he outlined one by one how Prophet Muhammad was better than that. Yes, the Prophet said this, but he had this. Prophet said this, he had this, and everything was amazing. So it wasn't like those guys are bad, but he's better. No, everyone is good, but this is better. This is better. He is better. Okay, Bismillah. So I just want to clarify in that lens bar. Is it normally somebody reads or the teacher? Okay. Oh dear. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
You can change that if you want.
Okay. So His great forbearance and mercy. Allah said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Kitab al-Kareem, but pardon them and forgive them, and Allah loves those who are kind. Fa'fu anhum wasfah. And He said, pardon them and ask forgiveness for them and seek their advice in the conduct of affairs. Fa'fu anhum wastaghfir lahum wa shawirhum fil amri. The Prophet was a man of great forbearance, who would not return no one ill deed with another, but rather would pardon and forgive. He never once sought revenge for his own sake unless Allah's sacraments were violated, in which case he would seek recompense for the sake of Allah's cause. So that's clear as to why he's doing it, right? Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud narrated that Aisha radhiyallahu anha, mother believers, said that Prophet ﷺ was never given the choice between two matters except that he chose the easier one, as long as it entailed no sin. If it entailed sin, he was okay, furthest from it, fine. The Prophet ﷺ says he never sought vengeance for his own sake unless Allah's sacraments were violated, in which case he would avenge Allah's cause. Okay, so you know when you do puasa 6, right, for Shawwal, is it okay to puasa 6 and niat and make the intention for qada for the prayers that you've missed, or those two are separated? Separate? So hands up those who say separated, hands up those who say it can be merged. Okay, cool. Okay, so it's 50-50. Amra, what's the opinion?
I think it's separated.
Separated.
I know it's separated because it's two different. One is sunnah, the other one is wajib.
Naam. Okay. So, from what I understand, so that there's differing opinions, and that's fine, right? There's not an issue that there's no differing opinions. From what I understand, that it can be merged, because the 6 days of fasting is not a fast in itself. It's like, for example, when you wake up for tahajjud, when you pray tahajjud, there is no such thing as you niyat, you make intention for tahajjud. Whatever you pray at that time of the night, meaning you've done Isha, you slept, now you wake up to pray, it becomes tahajjud. So whatever fast you perform in Shawwal, that is counted, whether you fast for 2 days or 6 days or 10 days, that is counted as within the 6 days of fasting. That's the understanding, and it has to do with the linguistic meaning, because it is not what you in Arabic call ma'rifah, a clear matter, but it's nakira, it's an unknown. 6 days of fasting. It's not the 6 days of Shawwal, 6 days of fasting. Right? Now, again, some other scholars might take a different opinion, that's fine. But here's where I want to put forward something. I've seen some people who had the opinion that it was a merge, they followed the opinion that it was merged, but for some reason they promote the opinion that it cannot be merged. Even though they recognize that there are some imams that say it can be merged. And they say this girl who's saying us online, she's saying, it is based on a weak opinion, so we shouldn't follow it. It seems like the attitude has to do with that, I want to choose the harder approach. I'm not challenging on the legality of her approach, because clearly she has admitted that the merging, she didn't say it in these words, but it's a valid legal opinion. So why then did you choose the other way? Or you can't do it. It's like, but check this out. He said this, right? Aisha said he was given a choice between two matters, except that he chose the easier one. So why don't you choose the easier one? Why do we come with this idea that religion has to be difficult and hard? Right? Again, for some people who may have looked into the merging opinion, they see, look, you know what, it doesn't meet the requirements, I understand, fine, leave it, then don't merge. But for those who recognize both legal opinions, why don't we choose the easy way? His forbearance extended to all of Allah's creatures, even those who had shown his enmity and hurt him at the Battle of Uhud, when his tooth was broken and his lower lip was cut. Aywa. So you know the story, right? Oh, this is amazing. Okay. So it is said that there are 4 times that Jibreel flew the fastest in his life. Anybody knows what the 4 times are? Like meaning, like Jibreel went more than Concorde, like in his life, right? 4 times. Okay? Huh? Yeah. So the first one of it was Nabi Ibrahim. When Nabi Ibrahim was being tossed by a catapult into the fire of Nimrod. Now, mind you, that fire was not Pengakap's Boy Scout fire. The fire was 4 4 stories tall, okay? So it was massive fire. So it was so big that they couldn't push him into the fire. They had to catapult him into the fire, okay? So that was one. And while he was mid-air, the Archangel Gabriel was commanded, and he met Prophet Abraham in mid-air and asked something from your Lord, for he will grant you. And he says, no, might not suffices me, in the summary. The second was when Prophet Abraham again was about to slaughter his son Ismail, right? And then he came to swap Ismail with a sheep. Okay. The third time was Prophet Joseph, correct, well done. Prophet Yusuf, when he was about to fall into the well, right? And Archangel Gabriel stopped him from being hurt, falling into that well. Okay? Again, this is sometimes when we read the stories, oh wow, amazing, Prophet Yusuf is like this, we forget that, there was Allah was behind that. Everybody says, yeah, Allah is behind a, accident, yeah, Allah is behind it. But even in that context, Prophet Yusuf, he was behind that, right? And likewise, if you talk about extreme examples, kan, Shama'il, kan, we even know that at the Battle of Badr, 300 men, 300 small-time army went up against the Quraysh of Makkah, 1,000 men of 1,000 army, with all well equipped with the whole works, kan. How would you essentially attack them? And you might even see it when you watched. Okay, you guys are righteous people. You don't know this, but in the movie Troy, right? Brad Pitt and a couple of other people, his friends, right? One of the things that they were doing in the duel was what? He took the sand, he tossed it at the guy's face. And that's how people might say, oh, such a, whatever, child's move, right? Throwing sand at your enemy's face. It's supposed to strike him or punching him. So Prophet ﷺ did the same thing. Before the battle, he took some sand in his hand alone, and they were far away, they were a great distance away, and he threw the sand. He threw in that direction. And if you're probably a soldier thinking, okay, what kind of move is that, right? But everybody in the side of the enemy had sand in their eyes, right? And Allah came in the Quran to remind that you threw or you hurled sand but know that it was me. It was us that hurled the sand, not you. So again, Allah is behind it. So likewise, in the case of Prophet Yusuf, when he was going into the ground, into the well, Archangel Gabriel came. So that's the third incident. The fourth incident was this one, the Battle of Uhud, right? Which is the second great battle. So the first was Badr that we mentioned, and the second was Uhud. Just to go back to Badr and how we mentioned that Badr essentially. Sorry, I'm fiddling with the ring because I've got eczema over here, so I can't really put it on. That even Badr, when people see, oh, the war tactics, or they did this, or the Muslims did that, yeah, but don't forget that the night before Badr, Prophet ﷺ was praying to Allah so intensely that Abu Bakr became scared. Right? That Abu Bakr came to him and hugged him and says, Ya Allah, Ya Rasulullah, know that of course Allah is on our side. So that was the battle, that was what preceded the Battle of Badr. What preceded, who was the one that opened Istanbul? Fatih. Muhammad Fatih. He entered Istanbul, he was fasting, kan? And he was fasting even before that. Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, when he conquered Jerusalem, right? Before he conquered Jerusalem and they were on a war expedition, and they were walking, so he was walking at night in the camp with the soldiers, with his generals, and he saw one of his soldiers, I think, doing tashahhud like that, or was it like this, making dua? And he told the generals, he says, that man's hand is more worthy to me than 1,000 horses. So these people had achieved that success because they were clear with what was behind their success and what preceded that success, and their actions were affected by what they did before that success, right? So in the Battle of Uhud, what happens is that, as you know, at one point the Muslims were winning, and then it took a certain turn, and then the Muslims were kind of losing the battle, so to speak. And then he was bleeding. And he said over here, check this out, it says over here, that when his tooth broken and his lower lip was cut and his noble forehead cleaved until blood ran from it, he mopped the blood before it could touch the ground, saying that were any of it to touch the ground, chastisement will be cast upon them from the heavens, and this weighed heavily upon the Sahaba. Now, if only you, and the Sahaba said, if you wanted to pray against them, and he replied, I was not sent as a curser. Right? We just mentioned, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِمَكَارِمِ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Like I was sent to perfect character. Rather, I was sent as a preacher and a mercy. Ya Allah, forgive my people. Even at that point, losing the battle, being thrown out of Makkah, in the place that he grew up, even at that point, he was still referring to his people as my people. Right? SubhanAllah. So the narration is that it was actually Jibreel that came down. There was a drop of blood that was about to touch the earth, and Jibreel came in, made sure that drop didn't touch earth. Because otherwise, earth will not, it is said that earth will not forgive human beings for allowing that to happen. It's quite intense in that sense. Okay, an example of his forbearance was, the great forbearance and mercy is found in the story of Zayd bin Sa'ana, one of the rabbis who embraced Islam, when they recognize the amazing signs and clear indication of prophethood of our Master Muhammad. Okay, so the summary of the story is this, right? This man is like Salman al-Farisi, right? Salman the Persian. So what this guy did, this rabbi, you know, from the stereotypes, but what has it, the point is that he gave a debt, he gave a loan to the Prophet Muhammad sallam. He gave a loan, and before the loan is due, like even before the loan was due, he went to Prophet ﷺ and asked in front of Sayyidina Umar, the notoriously famous, harsh Sayyidina Umar, in a certain sense, and asked for the money in a rude manner. Asked for the money back before the debt was due. If you owe the bank some money for your car, even when it's due and the bank asks you for that money, you'd be like, that hurts, right? And you be cursing the bank more so. Right? Even then you'd be cursing the bank. Oh, you shouldn't do this, this and that. But that's not the case. Check this out. So it's quite an extreme situation in the sense that he came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked before it was due. Now, but he had his intentions. Okay? And what happened was that such is the state of the rabbi that he did this in front of Sayyidina Umar, and Sayyidina Umar wanted to kill him. Right? But what held Sayyidina Umar back was that because there was a truce between the Jews and the Muslims. He knew that he had to kill the Jews then all that stuff, all that would be destroyed. So Sayyidina Umar said, was it not for that, I would have killed you. In any case, Prophet Muhammad stops Sayyidina Umar and says, you know what? He says to Umar, he and I needed other than this from you. Meaning, say, Ya Umar, don't do that. He needs something else from you than what you're about to do. Ya Umar, you encourage me to prepare properly, and that you encourage him to ask properly. That's what you need to do. That's what needs to happen. Encourage him to ask properly, not hate him. Then he says to Umar, Ya Umar, go and give this man his due, and then add 20 sa' for alarming him, because you had now insulted the guy you see you're about to beat him up, and now he might be afraid from you. So to recompense for that, give him 20 sa'. 20 sa' is about 40 kilos, right? Because one sa' is about 2 liters, or 40 liters. It's a measurement, right? Now, there was another incident here. Okay. There's a story about, I don't know go into too much details, but there's a story in recent times of another way to kind of treat this incident, right? Which is, I know a man that was building that had a madrasa, and he was very influential and successful in building his school. But people of a certain understanding was not very keen and supportive. In fact, saw him as a threat and wanted to essentially destroy the mosque and the madrasa that he built. And there was a protest, and they wanted to come and approach the school and the students and the people to burn it, to crush it or whatever, to take over. And yet all that he did was that he went up to the mimbar, to where they made the adhan, and he just made dua. He said, Ya Allah, if this institution is built upon falsehood and not taqwa, then take it away from me. That means allow them to come and attack. But if it is built on sound and solid grounds, then please protect it. Alhamdulillah, those people, one way or another, were eventually diverted from their course and never came to attack. Now, in any case, I just want to kind of also put this back to angle, right? But what happened to Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab and Prophet ﷺ? This man that came and asked for the money, took hold of his shirt. This Jew, this rabbi, took hold of his shirt and the cloak around his neck and looked at him angrily. Now, I don't know if any of you have had an experience like that. If you have been parking your car, that means it's slow speed, and someone knocks into it, before it registers to you that it's a small knock, it's scary, isn't it? But you're in your car though, you're not even on a motorbike, like it's like direct, no, you're in a car. You still say, like, safety is assured, but still it's like, that's how scary it can be. So think about this situation, we talk about forbearance, that the guy came face to face, in physical presence, grabbed the cloak, grabbed the neck, and angrily says, give me my money back. Number one. Number two, he says here, will you not give me my right, Ya Muhammad? By Allah, you sons of Abdul Muttalib are procrastinators. Abdul Muttalib was, of course, the grandfather of Prophet ﷺ. So as you know, that sometimes in the Arab culture, as you might know in the Arab culture, that it is more insulting to call a man, to tell a man, instead of saying, you stupid, or you donkey, it is more insulting to tell him that you have no adab. Like, that's a great insult, to say you have no adab, or you don't have hospitality. Like, that's a very great insult. And to start to insult your tribe is another matter, right? To say sons of Abdul Muttalib, and it's very specific, like your grandfather, not even like your greater tribe. And to put it to greater context, in the Battle of Hunain, when the Jews of Medina were kind of toppled one by one, this great long battle, one of those great moments, right? Those epic, like proper epic, what you call is a money shot of the movie. Prophet was on his horse, and he says, and keep in mind, when he was he's a prophet, people will say he's not true, he's a liar, he's blah 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 blah, he's a sorcerer, blah blah blah. And he's on his horse. So imagine this epic scene, right? Leading the army into battle. This epic scene, he's on his horse and he says, Ana Nabi wala kadhib, Ana ibn Abdul Muttalib. You know? He says, I am a prophet and there is no lie. I am the son of Abdul Muttalib. Ana nabi wala kadhib, I am a prophet and there's no lie. I am the son, Ana ibni Abdul Muttalib. So it's a sense of pride. I'm just trying to say, like, be very clear. So when his man says, you sons of Abdul Muttalib are all procrastinators, he was getting at something, like he knew what he was getting at, right? Like in the context of our times, it might not matter now, but in high school, Allah budak Subang. Abdul Rahman was like the apex of that. Now, budak Ampang, you know, like that meant something. You say like that, you're in a coffee shop, you say something, a couple of guys next to you here, they might start fight. Like for real. So can you imagine in this context, like, you know, sons of Abdul Muttalib, you're all like that. Okay. So then, alhamdulillah, the rabbi then says, look, tells Sayyidina Umar, straightforward, I found all the qualities I wanted to see in Prophet Muhammad as a prophet, except two things, right? That his forbearance will overcome his being mistreated. Number two, severe mistreatment will only increase in forbearance, because his response when the Jew did this to him is that he smiled. He didn't just say, okay, fine, give him the money. No, he smiled. He smiled at the guy and says, go give him his money and give him extra, right? His mistreatment will only increase his forbearance. Now, so this is an example of someone who had read. So some people believe the Prophet because they saw the qualities in him. Some of them had read about him in the books, and then they saw him and they found him correct. Like we mentioned Salman al-Farisi. What did Salman al-Farisi purposely do? He gave the Prophet charity. He says, I give this to you, this is charity. He says, we're not allowed to take charity. He gives it back. The next day he says, I give you this as a gift. Then he took it as a gift. He said, okay, that was one sign that he covered. The other sign was that between his shoulders at the back, there is a sign. There's like a seal. There's you can say like a birthmark, right? And there's the description of the birthmark. And then when Salman al-Farisi saw that, he said, okay, confirm, because I read about this from all the monks that he's traveled with. You know, there's a long story of Salman al-Farisi. And then from there you have the Qasida, the song, Baina katifayhi alama, Baina katifayhi alama. Baina katifay, between his two shoulders, is a sign. Alama is a sign. Another narration has it that Zayd said, nothing drove me to do what you saw me do, Ya Umar, except that I saw upon him all the attributes that are mentioned in the Torah, except forbearance. So today I tested his forbearance and found it to be in accordance with the Torah's description. I call you to bear witness that all of these dates, half of my wealth, are hereby given to the destitute Muslims. Zayd accepted Islam along with all the members of his household. And his mercy and his forbearance were manifested many times when he bore the torment of those who hurt him, and the boorishness of those who were caused with him, meeting all with his tolerance and forgiveness. There is a thing I wanted to mention regarding Sayyidina Aisha. Okay, two things. You're talking about forbearance, right? I think in the context of today, some of us might not be in a position to give out loans, and some of us might not be in a position to be in battles, granted. But imagine waking up with your housemate or your sibling or your whatever, and he's responsible to prepare sahur or breakfast. Like it's his day of duty. And then when you're up and he wakes up an hour later and there's nothing, or you wake up, or they wake up first and then you wake up and there's just no food. FYI, there's no food, right? You get pissed, isn't it? You get upset. So it is said that he used to wake up in the morning and he was asked Aisha, his wife, what do we have for food? And she says, we don't have anything. He says, then I'll fast. So you see how hard it quickly turned. Well, it's okay, we'll just fast. Sayyidah Fatima, his daughter, didn't eat for 3 days, and then when food finally came to her, she didn't eat. She, as an example to the daughter, she brought the food to the father's house. And then she was informed that there was nothing in your father's house except for the two black things. So in Arabic language, when you say two things, when there are two things, you group them together by referencing the last thing mentioned. So the two black things was water and dates. So the dates were black. So I would say those two black things. So two black things meaning water and dates, because the dates was mentioned second. Right? So that's why in the hadith it says the two black things. What it meant was water and dates. And I know in some madrasas, but they might have a mess hall where the students eat in the kitchen, but the teachers, at least I know in the school that I attended, the headmaster said we're not going to allow food to be eaten in the dorm rooms. Each room has 9 students. Then they have a mess hall downstairs. And then some students ask why. Is it because we didn't want cockroaches, or we were afraid it'd be dirty, right? In our rooms, our homes, essentially in the madrasa. And the teacher said no, because that's how the house of the Prophet of the house. Oh dear, that was the way of the house of the Prophet. That he only had 2 black things. So we will only allow 2 black things in the rooms of the students: water and dates. Everything else keep outside the room. So again, it's not done because okay, we don't want ants, we don't want bugs. No. You see how the alignment, how knowing the seerah orientates your life. It's not like a SOP rule book. You should do this, bro. You should do this. Oh, his brother is not sunnah. It's not sunnah for you to talk like that. Don't pray like that. You pray mistake. When you pray, you're doing this. It's not to be like that. That's not the point. So 2 black things. Okay, there's the first thing I mentioned. The second thing is that what the story I mentioned earlier regarding the 4 moments that Jibril flew down the fastest on earth. If you look up in the most important source today, which is the internet, it will tell you that this hadith does not have any sources. It is not hadith. Some say the source is very weak or difficult to find. Some say there's no source. You shouldn't talk about it. Okay? Now, if you speak to the muhaddith, yes, it's true. The muhaddith have a different standards when it comes to admitting hadith into their books, because it is the core text, the canon, hadith, right? But if in the Quran or in the books of Sirah, where you're talking about the prophetic life, the criteria to admit the hadith will not be the same as the criteria to admit a hadith in the book of hadith. So we have to understand that contention, right? So it might not be a hadith, or it might be a weak hadith, or it might be a story that was narrated by a righteous person. Is that not enough that a righteous person had told you this? Is it not enough when your mother says, don't cut your nails at night, it's not good? Oh, where's the hadith, mom? Can you imagine how stupid that is? How intensely stupid that is, just because, okay, mom, we can't do it. Right? Is it not sufficient that your grandparent or whatever, or grand auntie say, no, don't do that. When you makan, jangan tukar tempat duduk. Or is that not enough? Where, the Malay culture is something very beautiful, right? You scoop the rice, and if there's leftover, you can't like ketuk the leftover rice to, zikir like buang rezeki. Child might say, oh, that sounds stupid. What's the dalil for that? Did you need it? Is that how mechanical we have become, that you need it to see in some apparently authenticated, whether it's strong hadith or sahih hadith, or that only then you will do it? Well, why do you wear a suit and a tie? Where's the hadith to wear a tie? You can't wear a tie unless you have a shirt on. Avril Lavigne wears a tie with a polo t-shirt. Oh, that's wrong. Or where's the hadith for that then? Don't let it. Our narrow understandings make us become insane. Anyhow, so yes, it's this story. Even here, he didn't quote the hadith, the author. But is Imam Abdallah Sirajuddin al-Husayni, is it not enough as a source to tell us, okay, that's a virtuous thing to know about? Right? It's not. It's even the story of this hadith is not going to determine your life and your paradise and your hellfire's outcome. Wow, it's an amazing story. It's beautiful. How is time? Huh? 5 more minutes. Yeah. Oh dear. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I think we can do that. Okay. The narration of al-Bayhaqi has it that the Prophet was silent and then said, "The wealth." All right. Here, no, the story first. Abu Dawud narrated. Abu Hurairah said, a Bedouin came and approached him and pulled hard on his cloak, leaving a red mark on his neck, and it was a rough cloak. The Prophet ﷺ looked at the Bedouin, who said to him, "Load my 2 camels with food from the wealth of Allah that is in your possession, for you will not give me from your own wealth or the wealth of your father." That means I want from Baitul Mal. The Prophet ﷺ says to him, "No, and I ask Allah's forgiveness," meaning there's a limit to it. Right? The forbearance, there's a sense of limit, and it's not just wide open. The narration of Bayhaqi has it, the Prophet was silent and then said, "The wealth is Allah's wealth and I am His servant. No, and I ask Allah's forgiveness." I will not give to you until you give me my requital for pulling me as you did. The Bedouin said, by Allah, I will not give you no requital. The Prophet says, why not? Because you do not reap. This is beautiful. So he says, by Allah, I will not give you no requital. The Bedouin says, right? That means I'm not going to say sorry to you. I'm not going to, just because I hurt you, I'm not going to give you requital. That means the Bedouin is telling the Prophet, just because I hurt you, I'm not going to allow you to hurt me back again. Right? An eye for an eye. No, I'm not going to let you do that. The Prophet says, why not? Because this understanding or ruling is well known, okay? It's established. He didn't have to explain the dalil, he just says, why not? The Bedouin says, meaning because you're a prophet, because you do not repay one ill deed with another. The Prophet smiled and then called a man and gave him load the 2 camels with food. So when he was injured personally, Prophet ﷺ, he would forgive and pardon. But when the sanctity of any part of Allah's religion was violated, he would avenge Allah's cause. When his noble face was cleaved on the day of Uhud, he forgave, saying, Ya Allah, guide my people, for they know not. Yet when they kept him from praying on the day of the ditch, the trench, Khandaq, he did not pardon. Rather, he said, may Allah fill their houses and their graves with fire, for they have kept us from the middle prayer until the sun has set. So because that's Allah's right, that you pray upon Allah. So because if yeah, khair. Sorry, this is I think that's the end of the chapter, of this chapter. I hope that's of benefit. Forgive me for any mistakes that we've made. Yeah.
Jazakallah khair, Said Zain, the presentation. Just to remind everyone that the book is being sold downstairs at Mukha. You can get a copy and read it on your own leisure time, especially before the class. Also, your act by purchasing books and buying food are among the ways that you can contribute to Piecemeal, which is a non-profit organization, among many other ways. So before we end, we open room for Q&A. Feel free to ask questions. If you are shy, you can send a text in the WhatsApp group. Any question? The ladies?
If there's none, add a point. Okay, we're waiting to add a point because he made emphasis on the term Sayyid Zain. Then there are also some people who have narrow understanding, unfortunately, also say you shouldn't call people Sayyid, whether you out of a term of respect, whether out of lineage or whatever. And they say there's a hadith, which this is indeed fake. La tusawwiduni, right? There's a hadith that says, do not make me a Sayyid, the Prophet says, right? And the reason why that hadith is indeed fake, without having to check it out, is because the Prophet ﷺ was an illiterate prophet. He didn't read, but yet his Arabic was above everyone's level of Arabic. La tusawwiduni, if you look at it from an Arabic morphological point of view, it is grammatically incorrect. So therefore that hadith is definitively incorrect. And therefore even a righteous person, even if it was not hadith, he was inspired to say it, can't be true, because linguistically it is incorrect. And the Prophet ﷺ will never say something that was linguistically incorrect. So it is okay to call an older person Sayyidi or CD or cassette tape or whatever. Yeah, so if there's any questions, any comments, or anyone wants to share any particular point, I don't think so there's enough time to squeeze in the part that we've skipped. That we will leave it to. If you look at page 213, I just want to mention this because this is quite beautiful, because it happened here, okay? So in page 213, which you'll probably cover in the next month, at the top paragraph, second paragraph, Abu Dawud ibn Majah narrate in their Sunan collections that Abdullah bin Busr said that the Prophet had a large serving dish called gharra, which needed 4 men to carry it. When mid-morning came, they prayed the mid-morning prayer. This dish was brought out, filled with tarid. They gathered around. Okay, tarid is a dish that is like broth or thick. It might not even be thick, depending. Okay, I think now you might not find the most authentic version of tarid, but the point is that it's bread and soup together, served together like that, not dip. And then it's served. Until today, you find in some traditions it's available. But the point being is that that dish or that act of distribution of tadi was introduced by his great-grandfather, Muhammad bin Abdullah bin Abdul Muttalib bin Hashim. It was Hashim was the one that when there was a famine and he went out to the poor people, he cooked because he had wealth. He cooked soup and then he put bread in there and he served it to the poor people. And that was the expression that you hear sometimes used to describe the Prophet ﷺ, or sometimes used to describe his descendants when they are generous. Oh, mashallah, you have the heart of Bani Hashim, the tribe of Hashim. From that, so it was studied, the dish that was given out was that. And you most evidently can see this on YouTube, source of secondary knowledge, in the interview between Sheikh Hamzah Yusuf and Professor Naqib Al-Attas. Sayyid Professor Habib Sayyid Professor Naqib Al-Attas. At the end of the interview, Hamzah Yusuf says to him, he says, thank you for your hospitality, thank you for generosity. You have the hospitality or generosity of Bani Hashimite. He was referring to this. So you can see how, look, so put aside when we talk about Shama'il, right, knowing everything that Prophet ﷺ did, even right down to this generation, this moment today, people are still, what happened here affects people here and now. And it's being said in a casual term. Sheikh Hamzah Yusuf didn't have to open the book and thank you for the hospitality. It's so casual, it's so lived. The tradition is lived, not just in the books. Anyhow, that's that. So if anyone has questions or any comments, otherwise we can close the session. Not obliged to ask. Should we do Isha here? I think we'll do Isha. Anybody who wants to, and if you don't want to, you're not judging, it's okay. Yeah? You got a question now? Okay, we'll end it then. Bismillah, we'll end it. Yeah?
We'll end with the dua.
Okay. We'll end with that dua that I think some people know. The supplication to end. King, can you flash this on the screen then? Some people won't know this, some people. If you know, you can sing along. Okay. I think because it'd be good to know the meanings of what we're reading. Okay, King, can you flash it on the screen? Backstage group. Sempat tak? Boleh? Huh? Oh, tak boleh because it's USB. Okay, fine. So I'll send it on the WhatsApp group now, okay? On the announcement WhatsApp group, and you guys can open it if you want to read the translation. In English and transliteration as well, okay? Also on the WhatsApp, piecemeal WhatsApp group. Okay, I'm just going to open it now. Okay, the rest. So for those of you know, you can just read along as well. Again, page 3, page 2 and 4 is the English translation if you're looking for it. ربنا انفعنا بما علمتنا ربي علمنا الذي ينفعنا ربي فقنا وفقي أهلنا وقرابات لنا في ديننا مع أهل كتر أنثى وذكر ربي وفقنا وفقهم لما ترتضي قولا وفعلا كرما ورزقنا كل حلالا دائما وأخلنا على العلماء نوضى بالخير ونكفى كل شر ربنا واصلح لنا كل الشؤون وأقر برضا منك العيون واقض عنا ربنا كل الديون قبل أن تأتينا رسل المنون واغفر السوء أنت أكرم من ستر وصلاة الله تعالى المصطفى من الحق دعانا بالوفاء بكتاب فيه للناس شفاء وعلى آل كرام الشرفاء وعلى صحبه مصاب الغراب اللهم اهدنا بهداك واجعلنا ممن يسارع في رضاك ولا تولنا وليا سواك ولا تجعلنا ممن يخالفك أمرك وعصاك وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين في كل أهدنا برأ خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه كلماته يا ربنا اعترفنا بأننا اعترفنا وأننا أسرفنا على لظى أشرفنا فتب علينا توبة تغسل كل حوبة واستر لنا العورات وآمن الروعات واغفر لوالدينا ربي ومولودينا وأهلي والإخوان وسائر الخلان وكل ذي محبة أو جيرة أو صحبة والمسلمين عجبا آمين الرب يسمع فضلا وجودا منا لا باكتساب منا بالمصطفى الرسول نرضى بالمصطفى الرسول نهضى بكل سول بالمصطفى الرسول نهضى بكل سول صلى وسلم ربي عليه عد الحب وآله وصحبه إدارة الصحب والحمد لله في البدء والتناهي سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. May our hearts be enlightened and may we gain light from this gathering this evening that was given to us by our Lord through the Prophet Muhammad. May we increase that light, may we purify that light, may we not taint that light, may we not be among the people that bring shame upon that light, Prophet Muhammad. May we be those who bring pride to him upon the day of judgment when he shows us in front of other nations. Forgive me for any shortcomings. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum. Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.